For our second playoff game here from Kionka Field, it's the Westland John Glenn Rockets and the Brighton Bulldogs. Hello once again, I'm Keith Bernick, along with Ed Contos. And Ed, Michael's unable to be here, so we're gonna have to fill in for him. It's gonna be tough for both of us to do, but I'm sure we'll manage.
Well, it should be an exciting game as two schools that have only lost one time this year get together. I'm looking for a very exciting game, and I think it's going to be about one touchdown either way. A pretty close game.
It's really a weird day today. It was supposed to be about 60 degrees, but the wind is making it feel like a typical fall football day. When they said 60, I thought, wow, you're going to be able to come out here maybe in shorts, but the 30-mile-an-hour wind or so, you like that? Do you think it's about 30? It's really bringing the temperature down a little bit.
There's no question that the wind's going to be a factor in the game, and I think that the team that wins the toss may elect to try to pin the other team down and go with the wind in the opening quarter.
You know, we walked around the field a little bit before the game, and we have had a lot of rain here yesterday and early this morning, but this field's in very good shape, and as Mick McCabe told us, one of the best fields in the state to play on, and I don't really think the field's going to be that much of a factor.
I think you're right about that, Keith. They do an excellent job here. The grounds crew really has this field in tip-top shape, and that's not going to be a factor whatsoever.
As you've been accustomed to our Glenn telecast in the playoff games, we did a lot of interviews again with the players and the coaches, and we're ready to go to that. So let's take a look at that right now. In high school, Adrian against the Rockets. Fumbles the football. Hennigan fumble. John Glenn's going to pick it up. Matt Houghton for a touchdown. Matt Houghton for about 18 yards. And how about that for a first play? Rich picked up the ball and he fumbled it. Eventually handed it off to Hennigan, and Houghton picked it up and went in.
Well, looking back, it just ignited us. We had never experienced the playoffs, and to get off to a flying start like that really helped us mentally. Just got us going big time, real fast. We jumped on them, and it's not something you plan for. It's not even something that you hope for. It's really unthinkable, but it happens, and it's good for your team, and we really took off from there. It was a huge play for us, big play.
Well, big plays are always magnified in the big games, and especially early on when we were all a little bit nervous and you have the butterflies. And it's good to have something like that to get you going, get rid of the butterflies, and to all of a sudden be up by 7 points right away really helped a lot.
Matt Houghton's fumble recovery was huge. I mean, there's no better way to start a game than scoring the first play, and it was even on defense, so that was huge. And teams make big plays like that, and the playoff games they don't come too often, so you gotta capitalize when you get them.
Matt Houghton's fumble recovery sort of hit the ignite switch for the Rockets. We just took off from there on and never looked back. So that was the thing that got us started.
That fumble return by Matt Houghton really set the tone for the game, and I think it took a lot of pressure off the offense, taking the field with a 7-0 lead.
And there's no doubt, Ed, that certainly was a big play. I was just getting my great stats that everybody's come to know and love here together, and Matt picked it up. There you take a look at Matt Houghton, who's done just a great job for the Rockets this year, but he picked it up, waltzed in, and really that set the tone for the whole football game.
There's no question about it. There's no question that deflated the Adrian team. Opening kickoff, it's fumbled, it's taken in for a touchdown. You're already playing on the road. You're at a little disadvantage there, and it just seemed like Adrian could never recover from that fumble.
You wonder how much of a part that really did in deflating Adrian, because obviously Glenn went on to roll the victory. Now we got a couple comments from head coach Chuck Gordon about Brighton and, amongst other things, what they have to do to win the game. Let's take a look.
The one thing, you can study stats and get a lot out of them. The only stat that matters is who won the game. Howell was up and down the field on him. Howell had some chances to score and didn't get in the end zone. And a lot of that's to the credit of Brighton. They stepped up and made plays when they needed to. But in terms of studying, we've studied what Howell did. We've tried to determine why they were successful and see if we can incorporate some of that. Howell's a good team. That's a huge rivalry. The one thing that happened is that Brighton had beaten them early in the season. Howell was dreaming of a rematch and got it. We've been through that with Harrison. It is very, very tough in football to beat somebody twice. The other team seems to have a real advantage in terms of their revenge factor. And Howell was geared up. They were ready to play. They played a great game. They just came up a little short. But if you study those stats, you'd say Howell should have won. But the fact is they didn't, and we're playing Brighton, and that's all we can concern ourselves with. Copenhaver's an outstanding back. Not the only weapon they have, but is the guy you've got to concern yourself with the most. We will mix up the defensive fronts. You can't give them the same look more than 2 downs in a row, and we've got to get a lot of people to him. He's 6'4", 220, runs well. If we're going to try to tackle him one-on-one, it's going to be a long day. We've got to get a lot of people to the ball. We've got to get a lot of people to him fast before he gets started, because once he gets started, he's dangerous. I think they can throw the ball. That quarterback threw for 1,000 yards a year ago. Why they haven't thrown as much this year, I don't know. They are capable of throwing, and that concerns us. But they've got a good receiver and a kid named Ayers. They can do both, but they're going to start out trying to pound the ball. Their coach has said repeatedly that they're happy with trying to pound your team into submission. They will start out trying to just hammer us. If we are successful there, then they're going to have to throw the ball, and they can throw it. So they're a complete team. They really are. Well, I think both teams have good special teams. Their kicker's a veteran kicker, and he's, I believe a year ago, kicked 8 or 9 field goals. Got a strong, powerful leg. If it comes down to one kick, obviously, you'd be concerned. But we'll pressure that kid if it gets into that situation. We'll take a timeout to try to freeze him if necessary. But our kicking game is good. We don't lose a thing there. Their kicking game is good and it's sound, but it's not something that we fear that we've given an advantage to. Our kicking game is good. We work hard at it, and while theirs is good, it's not something that we're scared to death about.
Okay, here's one.
And there you take a look at the Brighton star running back Clint Copenhaver, who, by the way, has been recruited, Ed, by a lot of big-time Division I-A schools, we are told, amongst them who Michigan might be one of them. We really haven't got that confirmed yet. But anyway, he is a big-time running back, and he's definitely going to be the key to Glenn having success today on defense.
No question about it. He's carried the ball 144 times for over 1,100 yards. But the nice thing about it for Brighton is the fact that they have a 1-2 punch. You can't key on Copenhaver because they also have John Blake, who's averaging 10 yards a carry. So with that 1-2 combination, that's probably one of the main reasons why they've decided to keep the ball on the ground and not pass so much.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. When you have a couple of running backs that are averaging almost 8, and one is averaging almost 8, the other one averaging almost over 10 yards per carry, it's definitely going to be tough for Glenn on defense. Well, one reason we talked about while the tape was going on, Ed, is Coach Gordon probably said he wondered why Brighton didn't throw the ball. You had an obvious answer to that.
Yeah, and there's no question. When you're so successful running with the ball, why take a chance and put it up in the air? Although we will expect Brighton to pass occasionally to try to keep John Glenn off balance.
We talked to some of the students, too, about what they thought were the keys to victory. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Well, Copenhaver's a huge key. If we can stop him and keep him under control, I like our chances. If he pounds in there and runs wild, then I'm going to be nervous. I think the other key is that our offensive line has got to have a good game. Because they play well on defense. They've got some size and some speed, and you've got to get Copenhaver blocked. If our offensive line plays well and gets some holes in there, Horn is running hard, and he's running well right now. He'll have a good afternoon. And then we've got to protect Morrison when it's time to throw and when we're going to throw. And we'll have to mix it up in that regard. And we got to have a good day in the kicking game. And if we do those things, we're going to be okay.
Keys to victory, we have to shut down the run. They're big, and they have a good back in Copenhaver. They try to pound it down your throat. So we have to stop the run, and if we do that, we have to do a good job in our secondary, keep plugging along and stop the pass. And kicking game is going to be a key role as well, and we have to continue with a good kicking game.
Our offensive line's got to play real good. Our offensive line played real good last week, and our backs ran hard. Our offensive line's got to step it up, and our defense, we have to just stop their running back, and we want them to pass because they don't pass that much. So if they don't do it that much, that means they can't be that good at it. So we want them to pass.
We have to stop Copenhaver on our defense. We have to win the special teams battle because I feel personally that's one of our advantages. And offensively, our offensive line has to dominate. I can throw passes and Tartt can run, but without them, we're not going to do nothing. So they have to win the game for us.
We have to dominate the line of scrimmage, of course, and our defense has to have an awesome game. We have a great defense, and we just got to play hard.
Well, probably the keys for the defense is shutting down their running game. If we can stop the run, I don't know about their passing too much, but it's basically been the running that's been winning the big games for them. And the keys on offense, if the line can continue playing the way it has these last 2 weeks, then I think we'll be all right.
We're back at John Glenn, and all the kids said one thing, Ed. You got to control the line of scrimmage, and boy, we've heard that at every level of football.
And the two teams match up pretty good, too. If you look at the points scored and points given up, Brighton is averaging 27.7 points a game, and they give up 9.9, almost 10 a game. Glenn has scored 30 points a game, and they're giving up exactly 10 points a game. So the matchup from that standpoint looks, pretty impressive. Looks like the game's really up for grabs. One thing to point out is the fact that Brighton has beaten a common opponent twice, or at least they played the same team and beaten them twice. That's Howell. They beat Howell 10-6, and earlier in the year also beat them 18-6.
I think there's no doubt about it that Glenn's division that they were in and Glenn's schedule and their history is a lot better than Brighton's, and that's why I really think today they're going to come out victorious. We saw the Brighton kids on the field. They certainly look like a big team, but you look at Brighton's schedule, they played Saginaw, Heritage, Lakeland, Heartland, Howell. Certainly a lot easier, at least in my opinion, than going up against Farmington, Harrison twice, North Farmington, and the rest of the Western Lakes Athletic Association. So I think Glenn's got a little bit of an advantage there, Ed.
Yeah, but when it comes to high school sports, you look at some of the scores this year, and they're really surprising. You look at a team like Rice, who defeated Farmington earlier this year and shut them out, and then they lose in the playoffs. So you never really know when it comes to playoff time. I think coaching really has a lot to do with high school football and how well the coaches have their teams up for the game.
Well, you just saw the Glenn team leave the field, and Ed, you were right. Glenn won the toss, and they deferred to the second half, so they're going to start off on defense, and we'll be back for all the playoff action here. John Glenn against the Brighton Bulldogs here on Continental 11 coming up next. We'll be back in a minute.
In most communities, only 1% of the school budget goes to the Student Activities Program, involving over half the kids. But many schools are eliminating those opportunities and that penny. School activities need your support to be funded the right way, through the general school budget. Don't shortchange our kids' futures.
Welcome back to John Glenn High School. Brighton and John Glenn and Ed, we're about ready to get underway. I'd like to welcome you back up to the booth. Mike Brewis unable to make it, and we're pleased that you could be up here with us. We're going to miss your interviews, but we know you'll more than outdo Brewis today.
Well, it's a little bit warmer up here anyway.
No doubt about it. But we took the window out, and we're ready to go. The crowd has filled in rather nicely on a day where number 1 is playing number 2 in college football. We still got a great crowd here at John Glenn High School. The lights have been turned on. I don't know, Ed, it's probably in the mid-40s, overcast, and just a super time for football. It almost looks like a night game.
There's no question the wind's going to be a big factor in this game. As we mentioned earlier, John Glenn has elected to wait to the second half to decide what they're going to do. The wind is blowing strongly to the north at about 15 or 20 miles an hour. There's no question that will be a factor on punts and on passes.
And we're ready to get underway. Hewer set to kick off. And boy, you have a little bit of adrenaline flow into this game already. This is a lot more, the crowd's a lot more into it than they were in the Adrian game. Brighton fumbles the opening kickoff. Still down there picking it up at the 4-yard line. And out over the 10. Well, still fighting his way to the 15. A very good return by Ben Roax.
But Keith, we almost had deja vu. You remember the opening kickoff last week in the Adrian game. Adrian fumbled the ball. John Glenn took it in for a touchdown. They didn't get those results, but Brighton is pinned back deep in their own zone.
And that's where Brighton will start off. First down and 10 at their 15. A good job by Roax to get the ball back up to the 15-yard line. They'll start up first and 10. The winner, we have heard, will go on to Lansing Everett or Lansing Sexton, I don't remember which, to face the winner of the Grand Rapids game, who they are playing, I believe, Jackson. Back, little pitch play there, wide open. And the numbers are a little bit hard to read. Out over the 25 to about the 26, going to be very close to a first down.
Well, the two key players to watch for Brighton is quarterback Mike Martin. He's a 5'10", 176-pound senior, and their all-around athlete Clint Copenhagen, 6'4", 220-pound senior. We'll probably see a lot of him today, Keith, not only at running back, but also perhaps as a punter, and just a great college prospect.
So they're going to give him 9, second down and 1, and the handoff straight there, and Copenhagen doesn't go anywhere. He's going to lose about a yard. And Glenn very concerned with this big kid, 6'4", 220 pounds. They said they can't tackle him one-on-one, but they did a good job there. It'll be third down and 2. This is the first time I've seen the Glenn field, too. There you take a look at head coach Chuck Gordon. 1-0 so far this year in the playoffs. A one-loss season, that being the rematch against Farmington Hills Harrison. Third down and 2. We're just underway. 10:25 to go. Off to the left side. Copenhagen, and he'll have a Brighton first down out over the 30. So a pickup of 6 for Copenhagen.
Well, as we mentioned in the pregame show, Keith, Copenhagen and Blake are the two key men in the running attack. Just to put things in perspective for you, this year Brighton has rushed for 2,500 yards on the ground, and they've only passed for 670 yards. And the key thing is, when you're running the ball like that on the ground, you're keeping the ball out of the other team's hands, and it improves your chances to win the game if you can effectively rush for yardage and put points on the board.
Jim Etta got this side again. It's Copenhagen off the left side. And Copenhagen still on his feet, and he gets about 13 yards, and it'll be another Brighton first down.
And there you see a look on the far side of the field at all the fans that came from the Brighton area. The stands are completely packed on the other side of the field. They've got a great band, quite a few participants in the band. I tell you what, between the band and the football team, I don't think there's anybody left in the school.
Let's take a look at the replay again, and it's all Copenhagen. Got a little bit of good blocking there, but he broke at least 3 tackles. 18 yards on 3 carries for Copenhagen. First down and 10 for the Bulldogs at their own 44-yard line. 9:35 to go here in the first quarter. Handoff again. No, they go straight to the middle, and that was Blake. People in the truck are asking about my eyes. I'll tell you, Ed, it looks like the Brighton's uniforms are dirty. They didn't even wash them when they got here. I'm having a better, my producer will be happy to know I'm having a better time reading them, looking at the monitor watching this game than out on the field.
Let's go, defense, come on!
Second down and 7. That's a 3-yard gain for Blake. Brighton's on the move.
Come on, Dan, let's go!
Quarterback keeps it off to the left side. We got a flag on the play, and that generally means a holding call. Martin will get 3 yards, but we'll have to wait and see what the flag's about. And absolutely, it's going to be against the Bulldogs. It's going to be holding. Head coach Chuck Gordon, a little bit of concern on his face. This Copenhagen has really rushed the ball well here on 3 tries.
Oh, it sets up an interesting play now, Keith, because this will be the first time that they've had the ball with second down and more than 10 yards to go. It'll be interesting to see if they keep the ball on the ground to Copenhagen, or if quarterback Martin puts it up in the air here.
That's just a huge penalty. It'll move it back to the 38.
Already Brighton has run off over 3 minutes on the clock here in the first quarter.
Second down and 16. Again, out to this side is Ettig. Martin goes back to throw, looks for Ettig, and it's tipped and incomplete. And it was also tipped on the line, and over there was Dave Irwin.
Good defensive play by Irwin, 5'8", 150-pound senior. Was right there.
Martin was just a little bit off. It'll be third down and 16.
We've also seen a look at Jeremy Cosby, who's been quite a defensive standout this year for John Glenn.
I thought this might be a little bit more of an offensive game, Ed. You thought it was going to be a little low scoring. I think both these teams should be able to move the ball against each other. Big play here for the Glenn defense. Third down and 16, a draw. And it's not going to be a first down. And Blake's going to pick up about 7. And Brighton will see if they're going to elect a punt. I imagine they will.
It's too early in the game.
Yeah, you have to. But I didn't see the punt team rushing in there, so I was wondering. And the reason they're not rushing in there is because half of them are on offense anyway.
It's kind of interesting. In pregame practice, they had about 4 different punters who were punting the ball. Copenhagen seemed to be the person who was getting the highest amount of punts. So
Houghton and Henry back for the Rockets. And it's blocked by the Rockets. It's blocked by Besko. And Glenn will take over inside the 30-yard line at the 28. Derek Besko. Unbelievable. And the Rockets with another big play to start a football game here in the playoffs. And then Derek hurt his arm a little bit. You see him coming off. Let's take a look at it again.
Just a clean block here. No chance for the punter. There you can see Besko. There was no way to get that punt off. So
Glenn will start off first down and 10. It's Fuller and Horn in the backfield. They're in the straight up eye. The handoff goes to Tark Horn off the right side. Horn with plenty of room. He's got a first down and more inside the 20, down to the 19. 11 yards for Tark Horn.
Obviously a key situation here for John Glenn. They got the turnover. Now let's see if they can take advantage of it. We see big number 33, Derek Besko.
Good blocking off the right side, and Tark broke 1 tackle and got about 12.
Keep your eyes on Jake Henry, split out wide to the right, Keith, number 8.
First down and 10 from the 19, 7:26 to go. Hand off to Horn, straight up the middle. Tark for about 7 more. Second down and 3, and we talked about, Ed, in the pregame how important the offensive line play was, and really both teams winning the battle line of scrimmage when they've been on offense so far.
An excellent second and third efforts by running backs on both teams, as Horn is doing just as well as Clinton Copenhagen has.
Second down and 3 for the Rockets at the Brighton 11-yard line following the blocked punt by Derek Besko. Morrison again to Horn, this time off the left side, and nothing there.
Well, that's 3 straight times in a row you go to your number 1 running back, Horn, and that time Brighton had it sniffed out.
Jeff Kent with a big hit for Brighton. And also in on the play, Scott Niles. And Tark will lose about 3. It'll set up a 3rd down and 6.
Now remember that John Glenn does have the wind at their back. I would think that if they're not successful on 3rd down, Keith, they'll definitely go for the field goal.
3rd down and 6 just inside the 15-yard line. We're halfway through the first quarter. Besko goes out to the right side.
Timeout.
And Glenn's going to take a timeout here. 6:05 to go. And Brian saw something he didn't like at the line of scrimmage, so he took a timeout. Once again, we'd like to thank Matt's Catering for sponsoring all of our Continental 11 football games throughout the year and extending it on into the playoffs. If you're in need of any kind of catering or haul, be sure to give Matt a call, all the John Glenn boosters. Thank Matt for sponsoring all of our games here on Continental 11. Give him a call, 278-6400.
So this sets up kind of an interesting play, Keith. John Glenn has had 3 plays from scrimmage. All 3 plays, they've went to Horn. It's 3rd down, 6 yards to go. I think a pretty good situation for them to put the ball up in the air, although they certainly don't want to risk an interception here. Their kicking game has come around over the last couple of weeks.
There's no doubt about that. They found themselves a field goal kicker last week. So 6:05 to go here in the first quarter. Each team's had 1 possession so far. The holding penalty to Brighton was the real drive stopper. It set up a punt that was blocked by Derek Besko. Brian comes out to our side. Derek's out to the far side. They're in the eye. 3rd down and 6 from the 14. And Glenn's going to be moved. You know, all kinds of movement on the offensive line. That's got to be against the Rockets. The ball's never snapped.
It's going to cost them 5 yards. It's going to make it 3rd and 11.
That doesn't happen too often, Ed. This is the 4th consecutive John Glenn game we've done, and other than a few of those against Harrison, but the nerves were obviously rolling in that game, as they probably are in this game.
You see the coaching staff of John Glenn. They've done an outstanding job this year. Of course, John Glenn's only loss was to Harrison, and they beat Harrison earlier in the year.
So they're back up to the 19. It's Cosby now who's the lead back, or the blocking back rather, for Tarcorn. Now it'll be 3rd down, a little more than 10. Morrison goes back to throw. He rolls, falls, and slips. And we talked about the field might not being a problem, but
well, the problem there now is
where it did.
They may be out of field goal range now because they lost 5 yards on the previous play. They lost about 7 or 8 more yards here. They may decide to punt the ball away here. It's going to set up a long field goal.
Now, this would be, you're not kidding, it'd be about a 43-yard field goal.
They do have the wind at their back, though. Line of scrimmage, the 27-yard line, so that would make it about a 44-yarder.
They're going to try it. So it'll be Brian Kolb from 43. Does have the wind at his back. It's a high snap. It's down, a low line drive, no chance. So both teams have hurt their opening possessions on penalties, and Brighton will take over on downs. They'll have the ball 1st down and 10.
Well, we mentioned the kicking game would definitely be a factor, Keith, as John Glenn blocked the Brighton punt, and the kick there for John Glenn just a little bit low. Still have a scoreless game. Now, the rules in high school are different than the pro game. If a field goal is missed, the ball goes back to the 20-yard line. It does not go back to the line.
Yeah, I was just figuring that out, but then there's got to be something, because why wouldn't you try a field goal from your own end of the 30? I mean, there's got to be someplace. Little reverse there off to the left side. Big running room, and finally tackled by Washington. And that was Ben Roax.
Just a sophomore.
9-yard gain for Roax. He was the one that returned that opening kickoff and did a nice job. Yes, 6 foot, 164-pound sophomore.
So Brighton, true to form, has elected to keep the ball on the ground so far in the game, Keith.
Yep, 2nd down and 1. Eddig out to this side. And the handoff's going to go to Copenhaver. Copenhaver is going to have a 1st down. He'll get about 3. Knocked out of bounds by Matt Houghton. And Brian Vesco.
That's the first time in the game, really, that John Glenn has been able to contain Copenhaver. I like the way that he bounces off tackles and displays that 2nd and 3rd effort. Obviously a big game for both schools, Keith, but if you think about the seniors, some of these seniors are going to be playing in their last competitive football game.
Roax now out to this side. Fake, back to throw goes Martin. He's going to be sacked. And that play, Ed, was designed to be a quick hitter, and the Glenn secondary did a good job because he wanted to throw that. He pump faked once and was going to release it again, and the coverage was awesome, as it has been over the last couple games. And the Glenn defensive line just collapsed on Martin.
So it sets up a big 3rd down play here. 4:13 to go in the 1st quarter, no score.
Copenhaver got the 1st down on that play, Ed, so it's 2nd and 11.
That's right, okay.
But it's
right.
2nd down, 11. Still a big play for the Rockets there. Handoff goes to Blake, and Blake with a big hole out over the 45-yard line to the 47. And I'll tell you what, the Rockets are going to have to keep their eye on Blake because they faked that handoff to Copenhaver, and everybody went to him, and Blake just ran through the hole.
And that was a good defensive play by Jake Henry, or could have went another 20 or 30 yards. He was the last man back there, number 8 Henry.
So that's the first time Blake's rushed for his average. He's been averaging over 10 yards a carry, and that time he picked up 13.
So you see right here, Henry, the last player back.
1st down and 10 for Brighton at the 46. It's Copenhaver. He's got a whole bunch of room off the right side. Inside the 40, still on his feet. Finally knocked out of bounds at the 26-yard line.
I don't know if we can get another look at this or not, Keith, but he just bowled over Matt Houghton. He ran right past Houghton like he wasn't even there.
29
number
yards.
22 for John Glenn Houghton. I thought was going to make the stop, but he ran right past him.
29 yards for Clint Copenhaver. Let's take a look at it again.
Right here, right past him, knocked him right over.
Like he wasn't even there. 3:29 to go here in the first quarter. Brighton has a first down and 10 at the Glenn 27. Boy, you can see why they don't throw the ball. Martin hands the ball off. It's Blake. And Blake fumbles the football, I believe. We'll have to see who's got it. He does. Blake doesn't have it, that's for sure.
Henry thinks that
And the Rockets have it. Mike Bitt recovers the ball at the 25. So John Blake coughs up the ball as Copenhagen needed a little bit of a rest.
So John Glenn, Keith, in this game has come up with a couple of pretty big plays at key moments. They blocked the punt, and here on Brighton has got a drive going down the field, and on first down they recover the fumble.
They're going to take a look at it again. There's Blake. There's the pop. And he didn't fumble the ball in the second hit. I believe it was Matt Houghton who came in second to knock the ball loose, and Mike Bitt recovered it. First down and 10 for the Rockets. Morrison hands the ball off the horn. Tark with a little bit of a hole, picks up 5, and that's a good gain. It'll be second down and 5.
Well, that's what John Glenn needs to do on first down, is to try to pick up at least 3, 4, 5 yards. Makes it a lot easier to get the first down.
I'd still like to see Glenn pop it in the air here over to pin across the middle or something. That take a little bit of pressure off the running game. Brighton with a host of guys stacked on that line. Look at them all. All 11 men are within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. They fake the handoff. Brian rolls to his right. He's going to throw it deep. Coming back for the ball is Derek Fesco, but he just couldn't get there.
Good defensive coverage by Jim Eddig, the 6'1", 174-pound junior for Brighton, was right there on the defensive coverage.
Well, you're not kidding, too. He was the only guy out there, and Derek couldn't really beat him, and the ball was just underthrown anyway, but he didn't have his man beat. Great coverage by Eddig. So it'll be third down and 5. Boy, Brighton was not only smelling run, they were playing run. Glenn did a good job of picking all the blockers up, too, but Eddig did a super job. Glenn looked like they moved a little bit. Fake. Morrison goes back, way overshoots Derek Fesco. Incomplete, and it'll be fourth down, and Glenn will have to punt.
Yeah, the defender there fell down, Keith, and boy, if they could have caught that ball, that would have been a first down and could have kept the drive alive. There was a defender right there, number 20, that was Steve Hubert, who was there on the defensive coverage, but as you mentioned, it's kind of slippery out there, and he just couldn't keep his feet.
So Hewer back to punt.
Eddig is back.
Back deep for the Bulldogs, standing at his own 30. Pretty decent kick by Hewer. Drives Eddig back. He's going to let it bounce and takes a good rocket bounce, and Brighton will start over at their own 26. And Brighton really hasn't had too much trouble moving the football. They've stopped themselves basically. Well, you can't really say that. Glenn did a good job. I guess Howell was moving the ball against Brighton last week between the 20s too, and then Howell put the clamps on it. So it's a good defensive play as well, but Brighton's really got to be kicking themselves, fumbling the ball, and getting a big hole.
Yeah, the last drive, the last time they had the ball, they had about 3 first downs in a row before they fumbled it, so they're obviously very capable of running with the football. And like I say, I've been very impressed with their ability to show second and third efforts. It's going to take a couple of guys to knock them over.
Eddigs and Roax are the wide out. Guess who? And I tell you what, he might run over Matt Houghton, but I don't think he's going to run over Mike Bitt or big number 66 Jason Batchelder, who made that tackle. 6 yards for Copenhagen. Well, that'd be a pretty decent meeting on the field. Mike Bitt 6'3", 210, Ed, and Copenhagen 6'4", 220.
Go now, T.
Second down and a long 4. Handoff again to Copenhagen off the right side. He's going to have a first down. And Glenn did a good job of gang tackling, but unfortunately for the Rockets, Copenhagen picked up 9 before they got him.
Again, excellent second and third effort. Did you see he hopped over, the way he hopped over one of the defenders there to pick up an extra 5 yards at the tail end of that play?
I'll tell you, Ed, there's no doubt he's a big kid, but Brighton's offensive line is doing a super job because they're not really even getting to him until after he's not breaking any tackles there.
Right there, he picks up an extra 5 yards by just jumping over a defender.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but he's certainly a big kid. We've really only seen him use his size once. Other than that, he's had a lot of holes. 55 seconds to go in the first quarter. Still no score here at John Glenn High School. Rocket playoff action on Continental 11. It's going to be Blake. And Blake hits his average again. Another gain of 11.
Well, we're coming towards the end of the first quarter, Keith, and the stats in this game have been dominated by Brighton, but the key plays in the game have been made by John Glenn.
Well, you know, this is the same thing, Ed, that Glenn did to Adrian. They ran Tarcorn, and then they go to Cosby on a quick hitter up the middle and kind of sucker Adrian into it, and Brighton's doing the exact same thing to John Glenn now. They're faking Copenhagen to the outside, and Blake's just, when he sees the ball, he's got tons of room up the middle. Back to throw goes Martin, and it's going to be caught. They're going to call it a catch, and it's going to be a first down. And that's Judd Ayers.
Matt Houghton, 22, was in on the defensive coverage there, and that was just a great catch. They had double teaming going on, and credit the receiver with a nice reception there.
So a decent pass by Mike Martin.
You'll see Houghton, 22, was there on the defensive coverage right there, but
sure was a catch. Brighton first down and 10 from the Rocket 33. This will be the final play of the quarter, barring a penalty. And nothing doing for Sean Doan. And it'll be second down and 10 as they switch sides of the fields. So that's going to be it. The end of the first quarter in a game that's probably been dominated so far by the Brighton Bulldogs. But Glenn's come up with a couple of big plays. And the Rockets and the Bulldogs are tied at 0. We'll be back with Rocket football here on Continental 11 right after this.
When the school activities program is chopped, everyone suffers. School activities, especially junior high and sub-varsity programs, strengthen students, schools, and communities. Cutting programs drives everyone down a dangerous road. School activities need your support to be funded the right way through the general school budget. Don't shortchange our kids' futures.
Start of the second quarter here at John Glenn High School. Keith Burnick along with Ed Contos. Brighton and John Glenn tied at 0. If you just joined us, Brighton has a first down and 10 at their own 33. Martin back to throw. Pass is going to be caught. And a good hit there. And I believe that was Steve Hornsberger.
Cosby was also there.
And Mike Benn is down, and that's not good for the Rockets. That isn't good at all. So Martin completes the pass for another 5 yards, and he's looked very good so far.
So have the running backs for Brighton as they've been moving the ball down the field.
Well, Mike Ben's down face first, and he's not moved a whole lot. This would be a crushing blow for the Rockets if he's unable to play.
Well, this is for the region championship in AA, Keith, and of course, if John Glenn should win this game, there would be 4 teams remaining in the state in AA. The next game would be played in Lansing, and if John Glenn were fortunate enough to win that game, then, of course, the championship game's at the Silverdome.
It is Flint Central that's playing Grand Rapids Union simultaneously. I don't know why the high schools do that. Why do they play these games simultaneous?
Well, I guess the thing to keep in mind, too, is you got 8 different divisions, and 4 teams in each region qualify for the playoffs, so you're talking about 32 teams that qualify, so probably one of the reasons why you see the games on at the same time.
Well, there you take a look at the Glenn kids kneeling down. And Mike still hasn't moved an awful lot. And now he's getting up. hopefully just had the wind knocked out of him. They could ill afford to lose him.
No question about it. I just had the wind knocked out of him. Looks like he's going to be all right. I'm sure we'll see him later on in the game.
Now, if he can walk off, he's going to play. He might not know he played tomorrow, but he's going to play today. That's definitely a good sign.
Big smile! Big smile!
These seniors are pretty tough, Keith. You're not going to keep them out of there. This might be their last high school game, and if they're able to, they want to play.
So it'll be 3rd down and 6. From the 24, Martin on the draw, and a huge hole again for John Blake. 1st down inside the 20 to about the 18.
Credit the coaching staff for Brighton for calling a pretty good play there. Looked like a passing situation, and head coach Bill Murray with a nice call there, allowing Brighton to get the 1st down.
Great hit by Jason Batchelder again. John Blake has had 6 carries, 3 of them for 10 yards or more. And Glenn's going to have to stop him. 1st down and 10 from the 19. Handoff again. We got a holding penalty. This is coming all the way back. So all this is for naught, as Blake's going to rush for about 14 yards. Well, it has to be a hole. I even saw it, and it is.
And on the defensive stop was Matt Houghton for John Glenn.
He had a definite, they had a good grip. There you take a look at Mike. And yeah, he did get his, definitely got hit in the head a little bit. Checking out his jaw area. There you see the call. We got to mic these officials, Ed. What do you think in the playoff games? They go, holding.
Sounds good.
So, of course, also in high school football, which is a little different than the pros, the penalty is marked off from the area where the holding penalty occurred, not from the line of scrimmage. So it's 1st down and about 18.
Double wide receivers on the right side.
Copenhaver's not even in the game, which is unusual. Martin got all kinds of time downfield, got a man wide open at the touchdown. Jim Eddick from 26 yards.
So great play for Brighton as they answer that holding call, put the ball up in the air, and get the big score.
And a great job by Martin, who had all kinds of time, and Eddick made just a super catch.
Well, Brian Besco got there number 27, but he got there just a little bit too late.
They just let him go. Yeah, Jake's got to stay with him a little bit. 10:37, and Brighton's on the scoreboard. And the extra point is blocked. Unbelievable. So David Goodell is just a super kicker for this Brighton team, has it blocked. And that is another big play for John Glenn, and they need something. Because right now, Ed, I have John Glenn with 14 total yards here, and we've played a minute and a half of the 2nd quarter.
Love it.
And certainly this team isn't accustomed to being down at all.
I don't know if, other than the Harrison game, I don't think they've ever trailed in the game.
That's certainly very possible.
Now, in the Wayne game, they got up early in that game, you remember, by 2 touchdowns, and Wayne came back to tie it. But I don't think they've been behind in any other games. But the interesting thing to me now is, later on in this game, if Brighton scores another touchdown, I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for a 2-point play. They've had a punt blocked and an extra point blocked already in the game.
So Goodell will be set to kick off again. Cosby and Matt Houghton are back deep.
This may be one of the rare times, Keith, that you see the ball actually kicked out of the end zone in high school ball with that wind blowing. I wouldn't be surprised to see him put it out of the end zone.
Well, we know he's an extraordinary kicker and field goals and extra points, but how far he can kick it, at least I'm not sure of.
Well, in practice, he was booting him pretty good. We'll see.
And you hope the ball would go to Matt Houghton, but it's going to go to Cosby. Cosby at the 5. He's got a lot of room. He should make it up to the 20 at least. And he does that. Out to the 23. Matt Houghton with about 6 returns this year so far. Wasn't able to get that one.
Well, right now I think it's going to be important for John Glenn to sustain a drive here, Keith, because Brighton has already showed us that they're very capable when they have the ball, moving the ball down the field. If John Glenn can get a drive going here, perhaps they can tie the game, eat most of the clock up, and then go back into halftime and regroup, because Brighton has just moved the ball right down the field on them.
I was thinking about the same thing. Coach Gordon's great at regrouping at halftime and redesigning game plans, Ed, but we got 10-14 to go in the second quarter. Starting lineup back in, Fuller and Horn. Pitch goes to Matt Houghton, and Houghton sweeps the corner. Matt's got a room. Oh, one man to beat, and he gets out to the 43, a gain of 20. And he only had one more Brighton defender to beat.
Or it could have been 6.
Yeah, he'd have been gone.
Come on, Rockets!
It's going to be important for John Glenn to gain heavy yardage on first down, because it's going to be difficult to throw the ball against the wind.
Let's take a look at it. He had Horn and Fuller. And Derek Vesco lead blocking for him, and great job by the Brighton player. Didn't see who it was. First down and 10, 9:44 to go. Handoff goes to Fuller, and he'll pick up about 4. Of course, as we said, Ed, the winner will take on the Flint Central Grand Rapids Union game in Lansing. That's what we've heard, and we will be there in Continental 11 if the Rockets can triumph here over Brighton from Lansing. They're in the eye. Brian over to this side. There's going to be a reverse. Brian, oh, good block there by Derek Vesco. It's Houghton, and Houghton's going to have a first down. And boy, Brighton did a flag. We had a flag. What a block by Brian Vesco.
Might have been a clip on a John Glenn player. This one might be going against John Glenn.
That play would have lost 10 yards, and Brian Vesco, let's see if we can look at that again. What a pop.
There it is.
It's going to be a clip.
At the very end of the play, there's a clip against a John Glenn player. I didn't catch the number, but on the far side of the field.
Well, let's take a look at it again. Watch this hit by Brian Vesco. Watch 27. There he's coming back. Oh.
Now you'll see the clip right about here. There you go. I believe it's on number 77.
Where? You saw it? I didn't see it.
Well, they're going to call it. Let's put it that way. It was.
Let's see if we can take another look at that. We got another play coming up. And here we go. Matt running around the corner. Oh goodness sakes! If that was called on Jeff Madowski, that was a terrible call.
That official must be from Brighton.
Either way, it's second down and 15. Brian goes back to throw, looking for his brother, and it's going to be picked off.
Great interception by number 7. That's
Jim Eddick, who caught the touchdown pass. And Derek just undershot him against that wind. He had to get the play off a little bit quicker. Jim Eddick with a fine play.
Eddick timed his jump just right on this play, too. I thought for a moment it might go over his head, but he leaped up and stags it down.
What a catch. Mike Binn is back in the ball game, so that's good defensively for the Rockets.
Eddick is split out to the right. Keep your eyes on number 7.
You're not kidding. What a game he's had so far. Watch out for this guy. Copenhagen, nothing though this time.
Well, that time he was held to no yardage for the first time in the game.
Well, he lost 1 yard on his first carry, believe it or not, but it's been a long time ago, though, it seems like. Actually, lost a yard again, Ed. 2nd and 11, 7:35 to go here in the first half. Brighton leads at 6-0. A 26-yard Mike Martin pass to Jim Eddig. He just made a fine catch in the end zone, and Eddig comes back to stop the Rockets on this drive with a great interception. Martin is 4 of 5, and this is a Brighton team that doesn't put the ball in the air that much. Martin back. It's going to be knocked down that time by Derek Besko.
Great play by Besko. Nobody blocked him.
They were looking for Judd Ayers, the tight end. I'll tell you what, he was pretty well covered over there. If Ayers would have caught the ball, he would have had to break tackles. There you take a look at Derek, made a nice play there.
Come on, D.
Well, they need a defensive stop here and let Matt try to get the ball on a punt return here.
And if you're a Brighton coach right now, you got to be a little bit concerned about the kicking game for Brighton, because they've already had a punt block and an extra kick block. And if John Glenn can hold them here, they would really put a lot of pressure on the punter.
Well, the official just took an official timeout, and it's a pretty good thing, too, because I'll tell you what, there wasn't much time left on their 25-second play clock.
There's an optimistic-looking cheerleader. Her team only down 6-0 here in the first half. She's a little bit cold, but...
Well, the way things have been going for Brighton, Ed, they could do just about anything here on 3rd down and 11.
Yeah, they've mixed their plays up well.
And it's this time, finally, John Blake doesn't get 10. And Jason Fuller's a little bit geeked, and the Rocket crowd is on their feet trying to get him going here. Brighton will be forced to punt. 7:07 and running here in the first half.
Now, this is where you pull out all the stops, and I see if you're John Glenn, go after the punter, go for another block right here. This could really turn the momentum of the game around.
Well, every time Brighton's attempted to kick, what happened there? Did he... Holy cow.
A fumble.
Well, mark that down in one of my biggest blow-ups of it. I didn't even see him fumble the ball. Rockets take over 1st and 10 at the 32. Holy smokes, pitch to Horn.
I'll tell you what happened. They were so worried about having the ball kicked, they just gave it to him.
Well, I'll tell you what, too, and I know all the bigwigs at CBS were listening. There went my call right down the tubes after that. Holy smokes. Horn gets 3. And Brighton's going to take a timeout here from the 30-yard line. Unbelievable. 6:24 to go here in the first half. Once again, we'd like to thank Matt's Catering for sponsoring us all year long here on Continental 11, all of our football games. And all you people out in Dearborn Heights and Westland, please patronize Matt. He's done a fine job for us this year. Give him a call, 278-6400 if you're needed any kind of catering or a haul.
So obviously a key possession here for John Glenn as they trail 6-0. They get on the scoreboard here, make it a brand new ball game. I think we'd see a very interesting second half.
Once again, rumor has it Glenn or Brighton here will be playing in Lansing, and of course if Brighton wins, we ain't going anywhere. But if John Glenn can triumph here, all you Continental 11 viewers, we will be with the Rockets in Lansing, so you can watch the game here on Continental 11 if you're unable to make the trip up with the Rockets. 2nd down and 6. Morrison under center with Cosby and Horn. The handoff goes to Cosby, and he'll pick up 5, and it'll be about 2 yards short of the first down.
Good defensive stop by Mike Bickett, 5'6", 200-pound senior linebacker for Brighton. But when linebackers start to make the tackles, you know you're in trouble because you're into the secondary.
It'll be 3rd down and a really, really, really short 2 here.
You sound like Howie Mandel there.
Glenn's got Mike Bent in the backfield along with Fuller. This usually means Tark's getting the ball. And the handoff following Fuller and Horn goes Tark. Following Fuller and Finn, I meant. Tark gets the first down, down to about the 16. He'll pick up about 8.
Again, good second and third effort by Tark as it took 2 or 3 players to finally knock him down.
Good lead blocking by Benton Fuller here. Mike's kind of like Chris Spielman in the backfield, Ed. He doesn't miss, he's going to hit somebody whether or not he's in the play or not. That was a good block that time. Stay with the same setup. 5:15 to go. The Rockets inside Brighton territory for the first time. Horn again off the right side. Tark fights his way down to the 13. He still picks up about 4.
Good defensive stop by Mike Martin, the two-way quarterback and defensive backfield player for Brighton.
That's pretty dangerous, playing your quarterback too on defense. That doesn't happen too often. There's a lot of high school kids that play 2 ways, but not
quite often you'll see a quarterback play as a cornerback or defensive back.
I guess if that's one place you're going to play him, but I don't know if I'd want my quarterback touching defense at all. I don't care where he's playing.
Well, a lot depends on the number of athletes that you have out on the team and how good of a defensive back he is.
2nd down and 6. Glenn definitely moved. Finally a late flag. This play's for naught. It's going to be complete to Besko for unfortunately a touchdown for the Rockets. But Glenn's going to be called for a motion penalty here.
And it's going to cost him 5. There you see it.
Yep. And Jason Fuller, actually 2 guys in the backfield picked up early.
So instead of first down and goal, now it's going to be 2nd down and 11.
A good effort by Derek Besko getting in the end zone, too. I think the Brighton players knew that Glenn had moved. A lot of them seemed to let up. So we certainly won't want to look back at this and say if they wouldn't have moved, they would have been a touchdown, because I saw a half dozen of the Brighton players pointing and kind of stopping. So actually, Ed, I'm surprised they let that play go off. Usually when the offense moves and picks up, that usually stops the play immediately. 2nd and 11. 4:23 to go. Glenn at the Brighton 18-yard line now.
Besko split out wide to the right.
Both Beskos are split out. Morrison back. He's got time. Little screen pass to Cosby. He's got 1 man to beat, and he can get some yards. Jeremy does that and gets down to the 12. Good little effort
by the defender there.
He only got 5 on the play.
That was Nate Grill, number 40, there defensively for Brighton, and he went right through his arms.
Press box is as full as I've seen it here. This year, coaches from Grand Rapids. I imagine the coaches from Flint are also here.
A big 3rd down play right here for John Glenn. Keith, 3rd down, 6 yards to go. They trail it 6-0. We've got timeout down on the field.
But this is where a good kicking game, a real good kicking game can come in handy. You're really only down 2 field goals, but when you're erratic at kicking,
not only that, you're on the end of the field where you're against the wind.
Right.
And if John Glenn does not make it here on 3rd down, I think they'll probably go for it on 4th down because of the wind factor.
And it's only about a 30-yard field goal, too. But you are right. It's just, you almost have to take a shot at it. Because the Rockets haven't made 2 field goals in a game all year, so why bank on that?
And the other thing that would be interesting is if John Glenn does score a touchdown, do you go for the extra point to try to take a 1-point lead, or because of the wind, do you go for a 2-point lead?
I'd imagine you got to kick the extra point at that point. I am still amazed, though, at the Brighton band. They're lining up in the end zone. I've never seen a high school band this big. They told us 220 people. It is complete with flag girls and everything. Unbelievable. 3rd down and 6. A big play coming up here for the Rockets. It's Bent, Fuller, and Horn in the backfield. Looked like Glenn moved again. No call. Around the end goes Besko, and He's going to be short of the first down. He gets down to about the, well, he's going to be about a foot short.
That extra little turnaround move got him real close. And I don't think John Glenn has any choice here. I think they're going to go for it.
And the ball is on the Glenn side of the 7-yard line, and the first down marker is on the Brighton side of the 7. So he's about a foot and a half short.
I don't know if we can get him to look at this or not, Keith, but he made a nice little turnaround move just before the yardstick marker, and that may have given him the first down. Well, it's going to be just short, it looks like. About a half a yard.
A little more than a foot and a half. Glenn's going to have to go for this. Let's take a look at it again.
Effort on the turn move here, just before he was stopped. Right there.
Brian Morrison did a good job on the fake there. And I think Glenn just took another timeout. Either that or they're going over to the sidelines while they're moving the chains back. They did take a timeout here. So 3:45 to go here in the first half. Brighton leads at 6-0.
Well, you know, they've been pretty effective running with the football, giving the ball to Horn. And if I was coaching the team, just because of the way he's run with the ball here in the first half, I got to give it to Horn.
Yeah, you set up Fuller. So you take a look at Jeremy Cosby. He's a little banged up also. You're probably going to go with Fuller and Bent lead blocking again. That's one thing Brighton has been unable to stop. That's one thing Glenn has been successful on. It is when they wanted to get 3 or 4 or 5 yards, they've been able to. They said, hey, we're going to run the ball right at you, try to stop us.
It looks like Horn's in there as one of the running backs.
Yep, they got Brian Vesco on the right side, and Bent and Fuller. So I imagine they're going to run right again.
Horn is the tailback, number 1.
Morrison could even do a quick count and sneak this. There's nobody in the middle. The linebackers are backed off. No, the pitch goes to Tark. Tark has the first down and more inside the 5 to the 4.
You got to go with what's working for you, and Horn's been doing an outstanding job here in the first half. He gets a call and makes no mistake on the carry.
A gain of about 3, and the Rockets will have it first and goal at the 4.
Good job blocking up front on the right side of that line.
And Jason Fuller with a real good block. Number 45, John DeLuca of Brighton. First down and goal for the Rockets at the 4. Same setup, Fuller and Bent lead blocking for Tark. Tark gets the ball up the middle. He's going to squirm down to about the 2. And he's had to earn his yards today. That's the 9th carry for Tark.
2 yards here, 3 yards there.
That's been about it.
Now you might want to try to cross him up a little bit and maybe go with a quarterback sneak. You see Morrison just got his play on the sidelines from Coach Gordon. 2:50 to go here in the first half. John Glenn trails, but it's just 6-0.
The ball's just inside that 2.5-yard line mark. Second and goal. Vesco this time lined up on the left side. They pitch to the left. Tarkhorn. And he's in for the touchdown. And the Rockets have tied the football game on a 2-yard run by Tarkhorn. Boy, I thought he could have went to the outside end with it and waltzed in, but he elected to cut it up in and just powered his way over the line.
So a big run for Horn. We're all tied up at 6 apiece. Now this is where the strategy comes in. I tell you what, the way Horn's running with a football, I say go for 2 points here.
They're going to kick the extra point.
Go for 1.
Jason Kolb to boot the extra point. Oh,
that's why you go for 2.
There's a flag. And Kolb's going to throw it up in the air. And it was almost caught by Kidder over there. We're going to have to wait and see what the flag's about. That very well, I mean, it could be offsides against Brighton.
Well, it's slippery out there, Keith. The kicking game really isn't working for either school. And that's why I think it would have been a better play to go for 2.
So, well, they got to decline the penalty. It's obvious. How do you have
motion? Declined.
How do you have and you can hear head coach Chuck Gordon saying it's a dead ball right then and there. And this is pretty peculiar. You can read his lips there. He's saying, "Isn't that a dead ball?" That's the same thing I asked. I have never seen a motion call on the offense, and these officials have let the play go twice. He's getting his explanation right now. Well, he's apparently satisfied with it. I want one too, Ed. You got one for me?
Well, you're right. Normally on a play like that, they'll blow the play dead. Now, if it's the other way, if it's a defensive team that goes offside, a lot of times the play will continue.
You ready?
Down to 2:27 to go in the first half, and now we're all tied up. Brighton 6, John Glenn 6.
A couple of the Grand Rapids coaches are up here, Ed. They told me on an extra point, they usually let the play go, but on the previous one, where the Glenn did score a touchdown,
they didn't stop that play.
He kind of said they blew it, so... We're going to try to clarify this at halftime. I remember saying that last time. I never clarified. This one I'm going to find out. 2:27 to go. 6-6 here at John Glenn High School. Hewer set to kick. It's a squib. Brighton does a great job of fielding it, and they're going to get it out to the 44-yard line. So that didn't work at all.
So excellent field position for Brighton as they have the ball at their own 45-yard line. And they do have the wind at their back, so they need to pick up about 25 or 30 yards here to get themselves in field goal position.
Well, this is a ton of time. A little more than 30. They could get the ball in the end zone the way they've been moving the ball here.
And I think the key to stopping their big running back, Clint Copenhaver, is to get him in the backfield. Once he gets loose, he's very capable of breaking tackles and jumping over people. But when they've been able to get to him right when he gets the ball, right on the handoff, they've been effective.
Brighton's 5th time with the ball. They've turned it over on a block punt, fumbled twice, scored a touchdown once. Hand off to Copenhaver. And 9 yards for Clint.
And again, he was able to get loose in the backfield, and you see the results. You see why he's averaging 8 yards per carry.
I'm not sure how many timeouts Brighton has. I know they've used at least one. It'll be second down and short. They're at the Glen 47. Martin fakes the handoff to Copenhaver, rolls this way, throws downfield. Again, it's Eddig. And he's down to the 33, gains 13 yards, second catch for Jim Eddig. Well, actually his third catch. One was an interception.
Yeah, he's had a great first half, no question about it. TD reception, interception, and great reception here.
This kid gets his hands on the ball, Ed. He's not dropping it. Of course, that one was a perfect
right in between
throw.
the coverage.
1:20 to go. Brighton inside the Glen 35 at the 33. Martin, and we got
this
a flag
one might be too much time, I think, on Brighton.
Well, if it is, then that's the coaching staff's fault. You know, it's motion.
Motion, okay.
Because they did send in one of the wideouts super late.
Now that time they stopped the play on motion.
Yeah, I think the refs just simply blew it on Glenn's touchdown play. That play should have been blown dead. So first down and 15. Again, Brighton gets in Glen territory and makes a costly mistake on a penalty. Once they've overcome it, once they haven't.
Well, they send Jim Eddig again, number 7, split out wide to the right. He's had a great first half.
He's all alone with Washington. There's not a soul out there helping him. But Copenhaver gets the ball off to the left side. And Clint gets about 9.
Good stop by...
and Brighton's going to take a timeout here, Ed.
I believe that was Rubio in on the stop, number 81. But Brighton, no question about it, in the first half, has really shown an ability to move that ball down the field. It's 48 seconds to play here in the first half. We're all tied up at 6 apiece. You see head coach Chuck Gordon. We talked about it last week, Keith. He's had, what, only 3 seasons out of his, he's been coaching now for, what, 18 years? 17 years, and he's only had 3 seasons where he's had 3 losses or more.
Yes.
Outstanding coach.
So Brighton's on the field getting some instruction from head coach Bill Murray. Football game's really tough to decipher. Brighton seemingly is controlling the line of scrimmage, especially.
Well, I think they've done a real good job mixing up their plays, too. You know, if they're not passing to number 7, Edig, then, you know, they're running with the football and running with big number 24, Copenhaver.
Well, they have had a pretty nice balanced attack here. Second down, give Copenhaver 8 on that last play. Martin goes back to throw. He's going to keep it, and going to be knocked out of bounds, but he's going to pick up about 3. And more importantly for Brighton, he stops the clock with 42 seconds to go here in the first half.
I tell you, Wayne Derby, the 6'4", 203-pound junior, almost had a nice tackle there for John Glenn.
So it'll be third down and about 5. Edig's out close to us. Number 11, Steve Hornsberger, off to the far side. They go to Edig right away on a quick hitter. And Edig's going to get about a yard, and that's it. Clock continuing to move. This would be about a 45 or 46-yard field goal. And Brighton's looking over to the sideline. They're kind of letting the clock run down here.
I would think they got to go for it. You mentioned 45 or 46 yards. With the wind, though, that makes it about a 30-yarder. And I would think they have to attempt it here.
Well, they've had everything blocked so far, Ed, so apparently that's coming into consideration.
But a block's really not going to hurt you here because there's only 12 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, if you pick it up and run the other way.
Unless they get a touchdown, but they got a long ways to go.
Many times field goals are blocked and it bounces right up and the guy will pick it off and run with it the other way. So they let the clock run down just a little bit. 12 seconds to go. He's got a lot of things he could do here, Ed. He could try for like a 10-yard out, and then go out and kick the field goal, or he could throw it up one time in the end zone. There's a lot of things he can do here on 4th and 4.
But the only problem is if you go for a fake here and you don't make it, you turn the ball over, and John Glenn's probably not going to do anything with it anyway. But I think you've got an opportunity to at least attempt a field goal here. I think you have to take advantage of that. And go into the half either leading by 3 points or the game being still tied at 6 apiece.
They're going to try a field goal. It's going to be a 45-yard attempt.
With the wind.
And the longest of his career by David Goodell has been 43. But he does have as Ed said, I'll stick my finger out, 18-mile-an-hour wind at his back. Goodell from 45. It's blocked.
Free ball.
It is a free ball, and the Rockets were just jumping up and down. They didn't pick it up.
Finally picked up by number 76. That's Jim Tennant.
Boy, that's just what we were talking about.
You see a happy John Glenn crowd.
And I'll tell you what, the players got a little too happy. They should have picked the ball up. There were 4 Rockets closest to that ball.
So we got an extra point, a field goal, and a punt all blocked in the first half.
That is unbelievable. Yeah, said it at the same time. And, of course, remember the overtime with Glenn and Harrison. They had all that blocked, so they got so scared they didn't even kick the ball anymore.
I would think John Glenn's just going to run the clock out here and not try to do anything.
They might even throw it up for grabs.
Oh, they are going to play Hail Mary.
They're going to throw it up. Why not? It worked in the Wayne game. Fesco's got it at the 30. That'll pad Pryan's stats. That's about it. As Derek Fesco hauls down a 23-yarder, gives Morrison his second completion on the day. Pretty weird first half. Hard to get a grip on this one. Brighton's moved the ball seemingly at will. And then all of a sudden, turnover after turnover, and the Glenn defenses really rose to the occasion when they needed to. It's halftime here at John Glenn High School. The Rockets 6, the Brighton Bulldogs 6. You're watching Rocket Football on Continental 11. We'll be back for the third quarter right after this.
By one team all in the first half, but that's happened. Brighton's got a lot of yardage, but they haven't been able to take advantage of their opportunities.
Boy, that just shows you Glenn's been in the game due to Brighton's turnovers, and Brighton's lucky they're not farther behind, but their ability to move the ball has really kept them in the game. So it's a wash both ways. A little reverse to Kidder. It's not going to fool Brighton at all. I haven't seen Glenn run that one all year, so they're pulling out all the stops here today. And they'll get it to the 15.
So they gave the football to Rob Miller, but as you mentioned, that probably cost him about 10, 12 yards on that reverse play. So now they start deep in their own territory.
Yeah, Cosby just handed the ball off to Kidder, and Brighton really wasn't full at all. So 11:49 to go here in the third quarter. The Rockets and the Bulldogs are tied at 6. I'm Keith Bernick along with Ed Contos. And Mike Drew is unable to make it today. He will be with us next week if we're on our way to Lansing. Straight up the middle and a decent gain of about 5. Goes Jason Fuller.
Mike Bakusi in on the stop, 6 foot, 166-pound senior.
And it's drizzling at ever so slightly, so the field conditions aren't going to get any better. But a couple plays, the field really didn't come into play too much. Brian and Derek out to the far side. It's Tarkhorn. This time, Cosby, the lead blocker at fullback. Mike Bint's okay. He's played both ways. A couple plays after getting knocked in the head. Tark around the outside, cuts it back in, on his feet all the way out to the 33.
Well, he was really the main offensive weapon for John Glenn in the first half, and Coach Gordon decides to go with him again here early in the third quarter, and you can see why. He's had an outstanding offensive game so far.
53 yards on the day for Tark so far. Came in at half with 42. So he's on his way to a chance at another 100-yard game.
John Glenn really hasn't been able to get their wide receivers into this game. I think they should use the running backs to set up the pass here.
Well, both times, Ed, they tried to throw to Brian or Derek. It's been on a deep play. They haven't really tried to throw any short balls. They did run a screen one time. Cosby got 5 on that screen. Again, the same play, the pitch to Horn. Tark cuts it back inside, and he just makes more yardage every time the first guy hits him. He's one of those north and south type runners. Pickup of 6 for Tark. He doesn't run sideways too often, Ed. He just hits the hole and takes what he gets.
Several players in on the stop defensively for Brighton, including big number 24, Copenhaver, and also Martin, number 13, was there on the stop.
59 yards on the day for Tark. 2nd down and 3 from the 40. 10 minutes to go here in the game. Glad you could be with us here on Continental 11 playoff football here from Westland John Glenn High School. Cosby straight up the middle. He picks up 7. It'll be a first down.
So far this game in the third quarter, Keith, is just the opposite of what it was in the first half. You remember Brighton was running with the football right down John Glenn's throat. Here to start the third quarter, John Glenn moving the ball straight down the field.
Guy Matthias and Henry Wiegand doing a fine job down in our handheld cameras, as they have for all of our playoff telecasts here on Continental 11.
They get great shots on the sideline, like of head coach Chuck Gordon, which you just seen.
First down and 10 for the Rockets at the 47. Again, it's Cosby. This time he moves a little bit off to the left side, and Jeremy carries a couple of Brighton players for a couple yards and gets 5.
Yeah, I think that play was set up to go off tackle, but there wasn't anything there, so Cosby decided to go to his left to get some yardage on the play.
Steve Hubert is the person Jeremy carried. We got a flag, and this is definitely going to be a dead ball penalty. And it's going to go against Brighton. So that'll tack 15 onto the 5-yard gain. It'll take it down to the 33. So that is something that head coach Bill Murray is not going to be excited about.
You see head coach Gordon sending in the new play for Morrison. But big major penalty here, 15 yards.
You ain't kidding. Down to the 31-yard line. Boy, Glenn started in a hole, too, at their own 15 after a little bit of a botched reverse on a kickoff. Both the Bescos coming off this side. There in the eye, it's still Cosby and Tark. 9 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Again, it's Jeremy straight up the middle, and Cosby for about 7 more. And this is the same thing they did to Adrian a little bit. They ran Jeremy Cosby 4 or 5 times. Against Adrianette, it worked for about 20, but they'll take 7 all the same.
Yeah, Coach Gordon's doing a good job of mixing up his running plays. Several times we've seen the ball given to Horn, and now he gives the ball to Cosby, and it's keeping Brighton off balance on defense.
Great opening drive for the Rockets, aided by that 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Brighton. 2nd down and 3 from the 25. Derek Besko comes this way in motion. The handoff this time to Tark. He's going to be caught in the backfield. And guess who? Copenhaver. First time called his name on defense, and Tark's going to lose 2. So it'll be 3rd down and about 5.5.
Obviously a big call right here for Coach Gordon. He's had success running with the football, especially with Horn, number 1. But they may try to cross him up and put the ball up in the air here. I haven't seen Jake Henry in the game get involved in the game yet either.
Glenn is going against the wind in the 3rd quarter, so that should benefit him in the final quarter. That's something to think about. They might be in 2-down territory here inside the 30. 3rd and 6. And off the Tark, he is going to go nowhere. He'll lose about 5 more, and again it's Copenhaver.
Well, again, I think that's a situation where you're going to the well too often, and there's no question that Brighton was expecting number 1 to get the ball that time.
And now it'll be 4th down and 10. And I would hope they're going to punt the ball, and they are. They're called for the punt team.
The ball's at the 31-yard line. That would make it about a 48-yard field goal against the wind. There's no way they're going to try that. Watch them key on number 1 here. There was about 4 or 5 players.
Well, Copenhaver wasn't touched.
4 players.
Didn't matter
much. Is that defensive pursuit or what?
So Hewer on to punt here, and you just hope they can pin them inside the 10-yard line. Brighton sends 2 men deep.
Well, if they can get a high punt here, they can. The wind will catch it. No, they go to the fake.
A little bit of a fake to Cosby, and that's not going to do anything. So Jeremy got a yard, and that's it.
Not a bad call by Coach Gordon. Ball at the 30-yard line. There's a good chance it could be punted into the end zone. They went with a fake. Looked like Brighton was ready for it, but it didn't really hurt him in that situation.
Well, if you punt it out of the end zone, Ed, I guess you're right. You're only netting 10 yards. 10
yards, right.
But with the way that wind's blowing, I think Steve's maximum punting distance is about 30. I just get a little worried about a big change in momentum here on a play like that. Brighton will start off. Glenn used about 6 minutes of the clock. 6:15 to go. Copenhaver's made 2 great defensive plays. Gets the ball, and Henry and Houghton take him down, but he gets about 7.
Now, one of the adjustments I thought that John Glenn might have made at halftime was to double team number 7, Edick, who had such a great first half. But I noticed on that last play, it was single man-to-man coverage. And that's the responsibility of number 3, Brent Washington.
2nd down and 3. 6-6, the Bulldogs and the Rockets. Hand off again to Copenhaver. No place to go, and he does a decent job just to make it back to the line of scrimmage. And he looks a little bit shaken up on the play.
A good defensive pursuit by Mike Bent that time as he stopped that play from really developing. Well, and again, that's where you got to stop this kid, is you got to get him in the backfield. Once he gets a couple steps on, he's going to be tough to bring down.
I'll tell you what, the officials just did Brighton a big favor, too. They could have easily whistled that down, which would have meant he would have had to come out for a play. Instead, they let him stay in the game. He may come out anyway. Well, Bill Murray's going to keep him into the game. So it'll be 3rd down and 3. And remember, Copenhaver's been hurt. Blake hasn't got the ball yet. You got to keep an eye on John Blake. 3 carries of over 10 yards. He's been averaging 10 for the season. Little fake around the end comes Martin Besko with a great individual play. And he stops Martin. Derek Besko with a fine tackle. Martin gets a yard, and Brighton's going to be forced to kick it away.
Yeah, that looked like it was a design play all the way, Keith. Looked like a naked reverse play by the quarterback, and great play by Besko stopping it. But there's no question that was designed. Everyone going to the right, he goes to the left. See it right here, no blockers.
Great job by Derek Besko fighting off the block of the tight end.
Well, that's the chance you take when all the offensive players are going to the right. There ain't no blocking out there, and it just didn't work.
Well, Ed, guess who's kicking?
Number 24, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Houghton and Henry back deep for the Rockets.
In practice, he was really booting them high and long.
He was averaging about 45 yards a punt with the wind.
Look out.
And almost blocked it, and it's going to be Matt Houghton at the 25. Houghton with a little bit of room. Houghton to the 50. Houghton to the 45, the 40. Houghton's going to be gone. Matt Houghton, 75 yards. No flags. It's a touchdown for the Rockets.
Outstanding play by Houghton. My goodness.
Matt Houghton goes 75 yards.
If we can get another look at it, you'll see about 3 or 4 blocks on his way down the field. And John Glenn is calling timeout here. They're going to decide whether or not they're going to go for 1 or 2, but an outstanding run back by Houghton.
Boy, from the far side of the field all the way down, it was hard to see whether or not he was going to stay in bounds. What a great job by Matt Houghton from
Watch
the 25.
Him pick up his blockers coming down the field. There's 1 there. There's 2, 3, 4 blocks on the play.
It was a great block again on Copenhagen by Vesco, and there they are in the end zone.
Now it's decision-making time again, and again for both teams, I don't know whether it's a wet football or what the problem is, but no one has been able to do anything at all on the kicking game. And again, I think that John Glenn should go for 2 points here. Horn has been doing an outstanding job running with a football. I say put the ball in his hands, go for 2 here.
Well, boy, the thing I don't like about that is then they're just an extra point away from winning the football game.
Well, they haven't shown me that they can kick the ball at all, though, today.
That's true. Well, they did that time, and look what happened. 3:35 to go, and Matt Houghton has done it twice in the playoffs.
Well, they're going for 2.
Against Adrian on the first play, he returned a fumble, 20 yards.
Look at this.
And
triple
now his punt return. 3 wideouts to the right side. Vesco, Horn, and Vesco. Morrison goes back. He's got 2 points. Derek Vesco, and now the Rockets with a huge advantage over the Bulldogs.
Well, they compromised. They went for 2, but they went to Vesco.
Boy, they put 3 of them over to the right side, and Brian did a good job rolling to his right and found Derek Vesco open for the 2 points.
I thought he also could have went to Horn here. Horn broke towards the middle of the field, and Vesco to the right. And there you see the catch by Vesco. Nice catch.
Didn't make it over there in time. Scott Niles.
Seems like it's warming up a bit here at John Glenn High.
Glenn closed the gap a little bit statistically, but that doesn't matter at all. Special teams are a big part of football. I mean, it's an overused phrase, offense, defense, and special teams, but certainly today the Bulldogs can attest to that, as their special teams play has been, as far as a Brighton fan would be concerned, has been nothing short of atrocious, having 2 punts, an extra point blocked, a punt blocked, and now a 75-yard punt returned by Matt Houghton. And a Glenn fan would say just an outstanding special teams effort.
Well, the last time they kicked off, they had kind of a squiff kick. We'll see if they elect to kick it long this time.
There you take a look at Matt Houghton.
He's a happy camper right now.
So Hewer will set the kick off. Hope he kicks it a little bit more up in the air this time, and he will. Back deep. And that's going to be Ayers. Ayers to the 20, out over the 25, fights his way to the 30. Now Glenn with a little bit of momentum. See if they can stop him here and go 3 and out. It'll be Brighton first down and 10 at the 30-yard line. 3:29 to go.
Several players in on the stop that time for John Glenn, including number 14, Dave Irwin.
You know, Ed, I was very surprised Coach Bill Murray a couple of times on 3rd down and what I consider relatively short yardage, 4 or less, did not elect to go to Copenhagen to carry the ball when he has really been tough to stop. We'll see now. It's going to be interesting with Brighton down for the first time whether or not they'll stick to the same game plan.
Well, watch that matchup.
Copenhagen, so they stick to the same, and Glenn all over him. But again, a smaller guy would have lost 4 yards there. Copenhagen did a great job just to get to the line of scrimmage.
Well, I think that matchup that we were talking about earlier is going to be key here with Washington for John Glenn against Edig, number 7.
A host of Rockets in on that play. Jason Fuller getting through. Front line for Glenn needs to stand up now. 2nd down and 10. Martin rolling this side. Going long and deep. Matt's back there. Overshoots theirs. The tight end floating all the way down the field. And it'll be 3rd down and 10.
Good defensive coverage by Houghton. There you see Matt. 22.
Boy, you'd like to see him hold him here and give Matt another shot at it. Who knows, the way Brighton's been punting the ball, too. Maybe get a block. They were very close on that last punt, Ed.
No question about it. They just did get it off.
Big play coming up here for Glenn. 3rd down and 10. They lead it by 8, 14-6. 2:28 to go here in the 3rd quarter. They hand the ball. It's going to be a pass. Down the field is, Edig and Henry got turned around. That's the first time we've seen Brighton go to a little bit of a razzle-dazzle play. So the Glenn defense does an outstanding job.
Well, we found out one thing, that Glenn Copenhagen has a pretty good arm as well.
No, you had to figure that. So it's going to be Houghton and Henry. Back deep again for the Rockets. Everything looks about the same as it did 2 minutes ago, except the Bulldogs are punting from the 30 instead of the 40.
Remember that that's Copenhagen that is punting, and he only needs 10 yards. Don't discount the possibility of a fake here.
Well, that'd be a scary call. And that's not going to, it's going to go to Henry this time. Henry at the 33, just hang on to the ball, gets out to the 43, a gain of 10. So the Rockets will take over from their own 43 with 2:11 to go here in the 3rd. They lead at 14-6.
And on that last defensive stop, Keith, was Mike Stockman, 6'2", 231-pound senior. But I tell you, Brighton's got a bunch of big kids in there. They got a lot of beef in there.
Glenn would like nothing more than a 6-minute drive here for a score.
So let's see. Brighton's had the ball twice in the 2nd half, and I believe it's been 3 and out both times. They've yet to manage a 1st down here in the 2nd half. And that was just the opposite in the 1st half.
The pitch to Horn, following Cosby. Clark battles forward for about 5. And he has played a tough football game here today.
Good blocking up front. Nice block that time by number 71, Tom North, for John Glenn. And again, Glenn's ability to pick up 4 or 5 yards on 1st down is really making it a lot easier for him.
You take a look at Matt Houghton. They've used him a couple plays on offense here today. Steve Hewer into the game along with Besco. Again, it's Cosby and Horn. Let's see Jeremy get the ball on a little quick hitter here up the middle. 2nd and 5. It's going to be Horn, though, following Cosby to the outside. And Clark's going to be
about a yard short.
Yeah, he's going to be a little bit shy. Clock continuing to move, though. Now it's stopped, and we might have a measurement here, but they look short.
And the coaching staff for John Glenn trying to help those officials out as much as they can on the mark there.
Well, they're saying it's a 1st down, and we really can't see where the ball is.
It looks to me like it's going to be just a little bit short, though, from up here.
If we can get a good camera shot of this.
Looks to me like it's about the length of the football short.
And there we go. And it's going to be short.
Maybe about 2 footballs.
So not a bad play, though. Asking for a measurement gives your guys time to rest and set up a good play here.
You see Coach Jordan on the sidelines talking to his players, bringing into play for quarterback Morrison. Obviously a key play here.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ed, I don't want to jinx anybody, but Glenn, when they've wanted to get a yard, has had really not a problem getting it.
Well, again, the player that they've went to the whole game has been Horn in the tailback position.
And again, it's Besco off to the right side with Bent and Fuller.
But the offensive line has really been doing an outstanding job blowing away the defensive linemen.
They're basically telling Brighton right here they're going to run the ball to the right side and stop us. And that's what they do, and they're not going to stop him. Tark down the sideline. He's inbounds. He's inside the 10 and knocked out of bounds.
Well, he broke the tackle. The player who should have made the tackle was number 74, Chip McDonald. He had his hands on him, and Torque ran right past him.
36 yards for Tark Horn. And Bitt and Fuller and Besco just blowing out the right side. 1:19 to go. Let's take a look at it again.
Watch it right here. Watch him run right past the outstretched arms. Right there. You see it? Missed tackle. Number 74, Jake Finseth.
It is goal to go. So first and goal from the 10. Morrison off the horn. Fumbles the ball. And oh, boy.
Nice job of getting it back. And the one key play that he made there, Keith, was he didn't try to pick it up and run with it. He just dove to get the ball back and then take the loss right there.
I didn't want to say it back when they were at the 50s, so I'm going to say it now because I'm thinking about it. But it's real difficult to win the game when you turn the ball over. Essentially, what Brighton has done, which amounts to really 4 times, 2 fumbles, a block punt, a blocked extra point. Glenn hasn't turned it over at all, and almost did there. Second and goal from the 11. 40 seconds to go here in the third quarter. Glenn leads it by 8, 14-6. Morrison goes back. The rush is on. Fires at the Besco. He's got it. Turns a corner, and he gets down to about the 1.
Nice play action that time, Keith, as they faked the handoff to Horn, and he drew about 3 or 4 of the defenders to him, and they almost took it in for the score.
Well, they're marking the ball at about the 4, and I'm not exactly sure why.
He lost the football is what happened. He fumbled the ball at about the 5-yard line. You'll see the ball squirt loose. He got to about the 1-yard line, but the ball squirted loose right about here. There you go.
He was down below the 4, though. Did it look like that to you?
No, but his possession of the ball, he was at the 4-yard line when he lost it. So when the ball goes out of bounds, it depends on where the ball goes out of bounds, not where you're at.
So it'll be third down and goal from the 4.
Now, of course, once you break the plane of the goal line, then the ball goes out of bounds. Then it'll be a touchdown. So again, a big third down play right here for John Glenn. They lead it by a score of 14-6. And again, if they don't make it here, you got decision time. If they don't make it here, I would think they would have to settle for the field goal.
I'll tell you, I would love to see them line up with the same triple set in the backfield and Besco off on the right and just pretend you're going to run right, because they got to believe when you see that setup, they're going to run right at him to the right side. They'd fake everybody in the house out if they'd pretend to run wide right with 3 guys in the backfield.
It looks like the setup they're going to use. Horn's in there, number 1.
29 seconds to go. This could really, for all intents and purposes, I don't want to say the ball game for Brighton, but it's certainly a big play for them. Third down and goal from the 4. Glenn leads it by 8. 29 seconds to go in the third quarter. It's Bent and Fuller and Tark Horn. Morrison gives it to Besco. He's going to have to cut it. We got a flag.
Might be holding on John Glenn, I believe. I see a holding call on Glenn. It is going to be holding,
and Brighton's going to have to accept the penalty too, because you can't give him a 4th down in inches. So it'll be third down again, probably back over the 15-yard line.
We're down to 22 seconds to play here in the third period.
So there's the step off. Let's see where the penalty's going to be. It's going to knock it down to about, so it's going to be third and goal from the 14. Once again, I'd like to thank Matt's Catering for sponsoring all of our football games here on Continental 11. If you need any kind of catering needs or hall, you're having any kind of party, any kind of size, a lot of any's there, give Matt a call, 278-6400. And Glenn does not have to run off a play here in the third quarter. That's going to be it. 3 quarters have ended here at John Glenn High School. The Rockets are 3/4 of the way to Lansing in the Final Four of the high school football season. The score of the Rockets 14.
In most communities, only 1% of the school budget goes to the Student Activities Program, involving over half the kids. But many schools are eliminating those opportunities and that penny. School activities need your support to be funded the right way, through the general school budget. Don't shortchange our kids' futures.
Welcome back to John Glenn High School. The Rockets, as you take a look at Jason Dunn and our little cheerleader cam there, the cheerleader a little bit excited. The Rockets lead at 14-6, and it is 3rd down and goal from the 13. Just underway here in the 4th quarter on a kind of balmy but windy November day here in Westland.
Well, 2 things, Keith. The ball right now resting right in the middle of the field. You would think that John Glenn will keep the ball on the ground right in the middle of the goalpost, number 1. And number 2, since the teams changed sides, the wind is now at John Glenn's back. So it looks more and more like we're going to see a field goal try, unless they can take it in for a score here.
Well, you don't want a turnover here, that's for sure. 3rd and goal from the 13. Morrison goes back. He's got time, looking for Besko. Oh, what a good effort. Just incomplete.
Outstanding effort by Besko, as he almost got that ball with one hand.
Derek made a super effort. A good throw by Brian, just a little bit too far. And Jason Kolb's going to be on to try an important field goal here.
He was almost out of bounds, and right here he almost catches it with that left hand.
This will be a 30-yard field goal. He's got a ton of wind at his back. He's basically got to get the ball in the air. This would give Glenn an 11-point lead, which obviously means Brighton would have to score a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, and kick a field goal to send the game into overtime. This would really put the heat on the Brighton Bulldog offense.
Jake Henry will hold.
Henry to hold. 30-yarder. Ball's down. Everything's clean. Kolb got the distance, and it is good. Jason Kolb from 30 yards, and Ed, that might have been good from 50.
Yes, no question about it.
A huge win at his back, and for once, everything works on the special teams. It's been the special teams for Glenn today.
Now, we talked about it in the pregame show that the kicking game was definitely going to be a factor in this game, especially with the wind, and that field goal allows John Glenn to go up by more than a touchdown, so that means that Brighton will need 2 scores to come back in this contest. 17-6 our score, John Glenn out in front. And there you see a happy bench down on the near side of the field. Number 75, Max Schwartz there.
I'll tell you what, Ed, Mike Martin has proved he can throw the ball. There's no doubt about it. But one thing, he's going to have that wind blowing in his face here in the 4th quarter. So Brighton's got a lot to overcome here. Glenn's defense has stiffened up here in the 2nd half, and they got to face a heavy wind. They do have a good kicking game, Ed, but this wind could really play a part into this 4th quarter now.
Like I say, here in the 2nd half, this does not look like the same Brighton team that we've seen in the 1st half. They've had the ball twice in the 2nd half. It's been 3 and out both times. John Glenn has completely dominated the 2nd half so far.
You are set to kick off, and it's deep. And it's going to be in the end zone.
How many times do you see a high school kid kick it into the end zone?
Well, when you have a 15-mile-an-hour wind, and that's not the only time.
No. Give the kids some credit.
I know. That's Ed's job. We were told to check the wind speed. Ed, what do you think?
Well,
I got my finger out there.
Still at about 12 miles an hour, going to the north.
Look at the flag, Ed. I think it's a little higher than 12.
Yeah, about 12 to 15 miles an hour.
Okay. 1st down and 10 for Brighton. 11:50 to go. There you take a look at the flag. We got a pretty good breeze here today. 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs at the 20. Copenhaver gets a yard. Stopped by Mike Bent.
Obviously, the time is becoming a key element now. We're down to 11:39 to go in regulation play, and 17-6 is our score.
There you take a look at us.
Hello, folks. Hope you're enjoying the game.
They want me to stand up. That stands out there. 11:25.
Now the problem with the time being such a factor is Brighton sooner or later is going to have to put the ball up in the air.
Martin back to throw, fires it long, and no way. Jim Ettig.
Good defensive coverage there by Jake Henry. He was the closest player to that ball.
We got a flag down on the play. And we're going to see what this is all about. Motion, and again, it's not blown dead. We're going to find out what's going on. Yeah, you got to decline it. I don't think the officials can be wrong 3 times, so obviously we're wrong, or I'm wrong. So it'll be 3rd down and 8. Either way, Martin finding the passing game a little bit rougher when he has to throw the ball. He's 0 for 3 here in the second half. Third down and 8. Ettig out to the far side.
He's being double teamed now.
A little reverse play. And Glenn snuffs that out. It's Mike Bent. And also in on the stop, Dave Irwin.
Well, 4th down. I think they got to go for it here, Keith, for the simple reason. Not only are they down by 11 points, but they're against the wind, and I think they got to go for it here.
Oh, I can't imagine they're going to go for this. With 10:50 to go, you're only down 2 scores. Anything can happen. They can fumble the football. Glenn, I mean, yeah, you got to punt the ball.
Watch for the fake.
So Houghton and Henry back.
Watch the fake here because you know that number 24 can run with it or throw the ball.
Yeah, Glenn's saying watch for the fake. I'm surprised Glenn has 2 deep men.
Well, they are going to kick
doesn't fake it. It's going to go. Houghton's going to let it. Whoa, the wind really took that. Holy smokes.
Ball went out of bounds at about the 42-yard line, so it's going to be excellent field position for John Glenn, and really only about a 15-yard kick on that one, Keith.
Wow. Yeah, obviously they're thinking twice about kicking it to Matt as you see him come off the field. That in itself was a good 20-yard return by Mr. Houghton. Boy, things are looking good for the Rockets now. 10:19 to go. 1st down and 10 at the 42. It's Tarcorn and Jeremy Cosby.
Don't look for them to try anything fancy now. I'm sure they'll just keep the ball on the ground and try to use that clock up.
The handoff goes to Jeremy. Cosby's going to get around the outside. 1 man to beat. He puts his head down and gets to the 12. 30 yards for Cosby.
And a nice touchdown-saving tackle by number 13, Mike Martin, or John Glenn would have scored again.
Boy, there's that quick hitter again to the fullback. Tark fake going to the right. And just a great job by the Glenn offensive line again. And there you see Jeremy showing a little bit of speed.
Here's the open field tackle right here by Martin. Otherwise, it would have been 6.
That's the only thing he could have done. He would have stayed up. Jeremy would have ran over him. 31 yards, rather 29 yards for Jeremy Cosby. 1st down and 10. Rockets at the 11-yard line. Under 10 minutes to go here in the 4th quarter. The pitch to Tark. And nothing. So it'll be 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, that play for the Bulldogs, number 90, Brad Brown.
There you see Mike Ben again. Boy, he is taking a beating today. Matt Houghton down there talking to him also. And he's not in there too, so you know he's hurting a little bit. 2nd down and 10. Morrison goes back to throw, looking for Besko in the end zone. Just tipped away.
Good defensive play there. It was
great defensive play by Steve Hubert.
Hubert, great play.
So we'll have to see what Glenn does here now on 3rd down and goal from the 12. Rather, 3rd and 10 from the 12.
coaching staff, you might have heard in the background, is yelling for the field goal team to get ready. Obviously, if they don't make it here, they're going to go for another 3 points.
8:58 to go, 3rd and 10. It's Houghton around the outside. Can he turn the corner this time? Oh, Matt's still on his feet. Cuts back across the field. Inside the 5 to the 4.
Just missed the first down by a couple of yards.
What a great effort by Matt Houghton. And now Glenn's got a shot to go for this on 4th and 2. Boy, I don't know what you do here. That's why you get, I guess that's why head coach Chuck Gordon's the coach.
Well, I think you got to go for it because Brighton needs 2 touchdowns anyway. Even if you go for it and you don't make it, you got them pinned inside the 5-yard line. You got to go for it.
Yeah, that's true, Ed. But a nice thing about a field goal is they got to convert both extra points to get it. What an effort by Matt Houghton.
Right here he stopped.
Holy
and
smokes. I think all 11 Bulldogs had a shot at him at one time or another.
Of course, the other risk you're taking by attempting a field goal would be that it could be blocked. I think they got to go for it here. They've been very successful running with the football, especially Horn from his tailback position. You give the ball to him, I think he can get the 2 yards you need.
It appears that Glenn's definitely going to go for it. I guess the pros of it is, yeah, if you don't get it, they got a long way to go with the ball. Plus, you're risking a blocked field goal, so yeah, I guess I'd go for it here, too.
We got timeout, I believe, called.
And Glenn's going to go for it. Mike Pence back in the game again. He's going to need a nice 6 days off after this.
Well, he's got the whole winter to rest up after these playoffs.
Well, they hopefully still got 2 more games.
Now they're going to go for it.
4th down.
Keep your eyes on number 1 again. They haven't been able to contain him the whole
game. 5. There you take a look at the Glenn crowd. They're on their feet. 8:23 to go. Glenn by 11. Cosby, touchdown! Jeremy Cosby from 5 yards out, and the Rockets have put 6 more on the board.
Time to get the silverware out, including the fork.
8:19 to go. Glenn leads it by 17. And we're on our way to Lansing.
John Glenn has just been outstanding here in the second half. This doesn't look like the same opponent.
And I'll tell you what a tribute to head coach Chuck Gordon. In the first half, I mean, his kids made the play to get some turnovers, but really Brighton moved the ball at will and seemingly had Glenn on the ropes a lot. Kolb, it's going to be good. 24-6 Rockets. But in the second half, a few adjustments made, and it's been all John Glenn here in the second half. Let's take a look at it again.
First man through.
Wow, untouched.
And the amazing thing about this game, Keith, is now it's 24 unanswered points.
See if we can take a look at it again. Jim Locke with a key crunching block. And we're not going to be able to, but Jim Locke with a huge block also on that play. Jeremy's got to be a happy camper. Reminder, stay tuned. We'll have a little bit of a post-game show for you. Ed and I will go down onto the field, have a few interviews with some of the players, as well as head coach Chuck Gordon, and we're going to drag Matt Houghton over for an interview whether he wants to talk to us or not. You heard he's a little camera shy.
So John Glenn just 8 minutes and 19 seconds away from becoming just one of 4 teams left in Class AA in the playoffs.
Hewer set to kick off from the 40. Again, a mega wind at his back. And not as deep this time. It's going to be picked by Ayers at the 7. Ayers out over the 30. Uh-oh.
He may go.
Ayers might go all the way. Hewer tried to cut inside and makes a saving tackle at the 32. Holy smokes.
Now, if Hewer didn't stop him, he was gone. Now, I think this was after the play, so we're going to see some kind of personal foul here, I believe.
Right, this is against Glenn. Head coach Chuck Gordon's not going to be a happy camper.
Unsportsmanlike conduct against Brighton.
I don't know if one of the players was saying something to one of the Glenn players.
I think this play happened after the play was over.
I think it was probably all verbal, Ed. Take a look at what a fine run, though. By
with a nice stop, and you'll see the flag being thrown right about now.
Well, I guess you got to call that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Well, you probably do got to call that. He probably said a couple choice words to him, not once but twice. You saw it on the screen. So Brighton goes back to the 47. Boy, that's a huge break for Glenn there. You think you'd have the game under control, but with 8 minutes to go, Brighton gets a quick touchdown. They're down 10, and then, you know, funny things happen on a football field, especially a little bit of a wet one. You don't want to turn it over. Jeff Madowski, 6'5", 250 pounds. And the offensive line and the defensive line for Glenn here in the second half has done a super job.
And I could be wrong, but I don't think Brighton has picked up a first down in the second half.
I don't remember one. That's probably exactly right. That's very astute of you. Yeah, you're probably right. Well, I got Copenhagen here in the second half of games of 0-0 and 1. So
watch Eddick.
Back to throw, got his man Ayers, fumbles the ball.
I don't think he had possession. I think it's going to be incomplete.
Got it. Glenn's saying they do, and they do. Cosby on the hit. We'll see who recovered the ball.
Well, I think that's a very fortunate call for John Glenn. I didn't think the player had possession of that ball long enough, but
we'll see it again, Ed. I think he did. He ran a couple steps with the ball. But Glenn's going to have it at the 41. Mike is hurt again. Holy smokes. Well, he's really hurt now. He's in a lot of pain. Yeah, he definitely had it. Jeremy strips it loose. And
it was number 33, Judd Ayers, who fumbled the ball. And a big break for the Rockets.
Boy, Mike Benson in a lot of pain down there. Hand off to Kidder. And Jeff will pick up about 5 yards.
Well, I think we're at the point in the game right now, Keith, where you got to start thinking about next week, and I think it's time to rest Bent.
I don't think he's going to come back, Ed. He hasn't gotten up. They had to carry him off the rest of the way off the field.
Interesting that quarterback Morrison is still in there as well. Obviously, they're attending to Pin on the sideline, and
definitely
hope he's not hurt seriously.
6:48 to go. Morrison hands the ball off to Tark. Tark gets about a yard. Here you take a look at Jeremy Cosby. He's had a sensational game today. Caused that fumble and recovered it.
Took that TD run in from the 4-yard line when John Glenn went for it on 4th down and 2. And that really sealed the victory at this point. And there's a very happy Coach Gordon on the sidelines. He just kind of have that Landry look on the sidelines, but you know deep down inside he's got to be real pleased right now.
3rd down and 5, 6:03, and
too much time.
It's going to be delay game. Glenn
it'll cost him 5.
Got a few of the reserves in the game now. Obviously, they're concerned about Mike Bent, and a little bit late shuffling the players in and out. So it'll be 3rd down and 9. Just a reminder, if Glenn can hang on, which it appears they're going to do, we will bring you the game, which is rumored to be in Lansing somewhere. I guess we'll just find a football field and just start a game up. Morrison hands the ball off the tark, and he gets about 4.
May not be a bad situation for Coach Gordon to put Trevor Davey in the ball game, just a sophomore quarterback, number 11, give him some experience. He may be the player of the future here for John Glenn. The reason I say that is, you know, they're up by a score of 24-6, and they're really not going to pass the ball in this situation, and it might be a good idea to put him in the ball game, give him a little bit of experience, perhaps the next time John Glenn has the ball.
I just saw one of the people down there look up to the stands and like give a thumbs up that, you know, it's nothing super serious. Let's hope that's what he meant by it. Mike's still down on the field. Going to be Jim Eddick.
Where's the blockers at? Nobody's back there to block.
No one's there, and Eddick gets out to the 22. And then Brighton will take over there with 5:14 to go.
And there you see some very, very happy cheerleaders on the sideline. They're ready to go to Lansing.
The crowd's filled in pretty well here, Ed. It was a late arriving crowd, but both sides of the field. There's a host of people from Brighton that made the trek. And this has been a lot of fun this year. I'd like to, we still got one more it looks like, but I'd like to thank all the people in the programming department at Continental. It's been a lot of fun out here the last 4 weeks at John Glenn High School. Flag down on the play. And we certainly hope all the Rocket people have appreciated a little bit of extra effort by the crew. Doing these games a lot of years, and there's been a little bit of an extra push here in these final 4 weeks, and I'm sure we'll roll it out next week.
Yeah, this is the 4th possession, I believe, for Brighton here in the second half. They're still looking for their first down, and they just don't quite look like the same team we saw in the first half, Keith. Of course, when you get behind, it makes it a little bit tougher. You almost have to put the ball up in the air, and playing conditions aren't the greatest, but John Glenn has really answered the challenge here in the second half.
4:45, the clock's on the roll. Glenn leads it by 18, 24-6. The regional finals here at John Glenn High School.
Draw play.
Run the draw. And a gain of a yard by Blake. So it's been feast or famine with him. He's got gains of 3, 13, 0, 11, 11, 0, and 1.
You see pick number 45, Jeremy Cosby, who had that 4-yard TD run here in the second half. 5 foot 10 inch, 195-pound senior, having a great game for the Rockets.
And Mr. Copenhaver, who has rushed for 1,150 yards, probably going to fall a little bit short of his average
Well,
today.
They finally got a first down, Keith.
First down of the second half.
You see the catch made by number 33, Judd Ayers.
3:56 to go in the fourth quarter. So that doesn't bode well when you pick up your first down here in the fourth with 3:50 to go. And Mike Bentz at least sitting up now, and half the crowd sees it.
He'll be back raring to go next week.
I'll tell you what, it kind of reminds me of that game with the Chargers and the Dolphins, Kellen Winslow. They've carried him off about 6 times, and he keeps going back out there to play.
Now he's up on his feet. He says, Coach, I want to get back in there.
Yeah, his head coach is over there talking to him. He says, hey, Mike, 6 days.
Now we're down to...
See you in pads on Monday.
Down to 3:05 on the clock, Keith, and these short passes really aren't helping Brighton in this situation.
Now, honestly, Ed, I think they're probably trying to do something to end the season positively. You're asking an awful lot to try to get back into the football game when you're down 18.
It's going to set up 3rd down and about a yard to go.
And I'll tell you what, too, the Brighton players, we've seen a lot of games where there's frustrations mounted. I mean, we saw a little bit of it with Adrian last week, and they've kept their cool here today. I think that's a credit to them, and really a credit to head coach Bill Murray. There hasn't been any cheap shots or anything that could have happened, extracurricular-wise here after the play. There really seems to be no frustration. Obviously, they're disappointed, but they've handled themselves with class, at least from this far away. Jim Tennant on the sack. And it's going to be 4th down and about 8.
I tell you, the way they played in the first half, John Glenn's lucky that they weren't down by 2 touchdowns. It easily could have been a 2-touchdown margin for Brighton, but they just weren't able to kick the ball very well. And John Glenn stayed close and was able to take command here in the second half.
So we're under 2 minutes to go. Brighton's going to go for it here on 4th down and 7 from their own 36. Martin goes back, pump fakes, got his man wide open, and a nice hit by Washington. But that was a pretty good looking throw and a nice pattern run by number 3, Ben Roax, just a sophomore. Little middle route. And Roax made a nice play. 1:30 to go. Rockets 24, Bulldogs 6. Glenn's going to be going to the Final 4 of the Michigan High School Athletic Association state playoffs in the AA region. Long, and Henry tried to get it. It's thrown out of bounds.
Nobody even close to that pass. Henry was back on the defensive coverage for John Glenn, number 8. It looked like the receiver ran a sideline pattern and turned around, was looking for the ball, and the quarterback threw a deep drop.
Second down and 10. Tell you what, Ed, we have to co-pick a star of a game, so why don't you pick one and I'll pick one and we'll have 2. So down he goes.
Well, I tell you what, Keith.
Tony Cruz on the sack that time. Mike Martin.
The way that about 20 players have played on this John Glenn team today, I don't think you can single out 1 or 2 players. Everyone's had an outstanding game. I think you have, when you talk about players of the game, I think you have to mention Horn, the way he was running with a football. You have to mention Jeremy Cosby, who had that 4-yard run on 4th down. All the blocking up front on the offensive line, on the defensive line. There's no way I'm going to be able to name 1 player.
You won't, huh?
Nope.
Well, I'm going to have guts. I'll say
I think that game
Matt Houghton's my player of the game. First down and 10 from the 49. You're right, though. It's been a solid team effort. Both the Bescos have played well defensively. That's going to be another Brighton first down here on this drive, at least. Ayers takes it down to the 35.
I think quarterback Morrison very quietly has had an excellent game behind center as well. So John Glenn will improve their record to 10-1 and advance in the state playoffs. And Brighton caps off a very fine year at 9-2.
Well, first and 10 from the 35. Just 5 seconds to go. Martin looking deep, incomplete, and there'll be another play here. 3 seconds to go.
Again, that was Jake Henry back on the defensive coverage for John Glenn.
A reminder, don't flick the TV off just yet. We'll be down on the field with a few interviews of a couple of players, hopefully, and head coach Chuck Gordon. And again, 24-6 here. The Rockets have just played an outstanding second half. In all honesty, Ed, I think they played a second half of football today better than what they played against Adrian the whole game. And I didn't think they could possibly play better than what they did against Adrian. But here
the way they played in the second half is probably their best effort all year, even better than the Harrison games.
So this will be the last play of the game. Martin back. It's going to be caught. And that's going to be it. Good thing that Copenhaver ended the game here because he's been a great player. And the Rockets have won it here at John Glenn. They have won the region and the right to go on to play the winner of the Grand Rapids Union Flint Central game in Lansing. Remember, stay tuned. We're going to have extensive post-game coverage along with a few interviews. Once again, the final score, the Rockets 24, the Bulldogs 6. You've watched Rocket football on Continental 11.
When the school activities program is chopped, everyone suffers. School activities, especially junior high and sub-varsity programs, strengthen students, schools, and communities. Cutting programs drives everyone down a dangerous road. School activities need your support to be funded the right way through the general school budget. Don't shortchange our kids' futures.
We're back here at John Glenn High School. An outstanding game for the Rockets, 24-6, and they're on their way to Lansing, and we're certainly going to follow them. Oh, well, I'm glad I didn't get it. That's on camera, Coach. At least they got me out of it. At least they got me out of it. Just an outstanding game. The adjustments you guys made at halftime, it looked like two different football games.
Well, we felt, we told our guys that our guys were a little bit down at halftime. I told them we thought we'd played a great first half. Nothing had gone right. We had survived their best shots, and we were right in this thing. And we made a couple little adjustments because that back is good. First of all, you can't tackle them high. You got to go low. We made an adjustment with our outside linebackers, and I think that helped a ton. And we picked up a couple things we thought we could do up front on the ground. And our kids did a good job, and it's a great win. We're really happy. Very happy.
Obviously, the big lift of the game was this guy's punt return. Come here, Matt. What did you see when you went for that big block? You know, you host the field in front of you, man.
Well, all is my blockers. I just saw the open field and took off, and you watch TV, you'll see it.
He's just an outstanding run back coach, and I noticed you use him as a big offensive weapon whenever he's in the football game, and he always seems to provide a spark like he did against Adrian.
Well, there's guys as a coach you like to watch play. He's one of them. He's dangerous. He's a threat every time he touches the ball. You just kind of hold your breath. You don't know how it's going to turn out. In fact, one of our touchdowns down here, we ran a counter. It was a huge loss, and he turns the thing up in there and battles and jumps around, and the next thing you know, we got a big gain. And then Cause jumps through there, and we hit a touchdown. So he's an exciting player. I'm glad he's on our side. I'm glad he's healthy and back, too. We missed him in the middle part of the season, but he's jumped right back in there.
Coach, your team did an outstanding job in the first half with a kicking game. You blocked an extra point, a field goal, and a punt. Anything special that you practiced during the week on blocking kicks?
We thought we could get to one of their punts, and we had talked about it all week. We worked very, very hard in the kicking game. We spend a lot of practice time in it, and some days at a game, nothing happens. But today we had a number of things go our way, and it's not by accident. We worked very hard at that, very hard.
Biggest win in your career so far?
Hope not.
That's a fantastic answer. Jeremy, just outstanding play when you stripped the tight end there of the ball. Tell us about that play. I mean, that really clinched it.
Well, we worked on that play a lot all week, and I saw it, and I slipped a little bit, and I couldn't really get to it to try to make the interception. And he caught the ball. I just tried to do my best to make a sure tackle and try to strip it, and it happened to work out.
What'd you think about on your touchdown run when you knew you were going to get the call and you had open field right in front of you?
The hole was just huge. I give all the credit to our line. You could have drove a Mack truck through that line. It was just huge.
Just an outstanding effort again, Coach. It was a super game, and we'll see you in Lansing. We're having fun. You having fun?
This is what it's all about. We're having a great time. Like, keep it going.
Yeah. Good luck. Thanks very much. Thanks a lot. Good game, guys.
Let's go, man.
Good game, Matt. Well, Ed, it's just a super effort again, a super game for the Rockets. What more can be said? This has certainly been a good time. It'll be something I'll remember for a long time, and hopefully we can win a couple more football games.
Well, John Glenn is champions of the region. They're one of 4 teams left in Class AA, and very deservingly so. They're playing an outstanding year.
Certainly, no doubt about it. It says it all up on the scoreboard. Just a great effort. Once again, I'd really like to thank everybody, the staff, Ed, you yourself, everybody, Jason, Henry on the camera right in front of us, Guy. Everybody done a great job. It's been a lot of fun here at John Glenn High School, and the Rockets have certainly played well, and they've done a great job. So that's about all we have here for you. Once again, the final score, well, for Ed Contos and Keith Burnick, the final score, the Rockets 24, Brighton 6, and we'll see you guys in Lansing. Have a good day, everybody.